and I fire a bad cop, I fire a dirty cop, and all of a sudden the Democrats say, how dare he fire him? How dare he do this? And that's where we are, folks. That's where we are. We're in the swamp of Washington, D.C. But you know what? We're winning, and they're not. We're winning, and they're not.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest new Q posts, and they are big, giving us all types of insight into how and why we are going to defeat the Democrats legally and lawfully in their impeachment hoax against President Trump, and how they've weaponized the process to meddle in the 2020 election. Plus, have the Q boards been acting as more than just a place for anons to get information? Are they also a back channel for President Trump to communicate with foreign leaders to stave off global disaster? You guys are going to want to stick around to hear that and a whole lot more. Hi, my name is Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I always start by saying thank you if you've done it. If you haven't, come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted. Yes, we are picking up here where we left off. Q post 3721 is where we left off, and we're picking up at 3722. We have a lot to cover because there have been a lot of drops and there's a lot of information coming. So you guys are definitely just going to want to stick around to hear all of that. Before we get into it, look, you know there's a content suppression algorithm. We go over this every single time, but we do it for an important reason. I got to remind all of you guys, hit the share button on this video, watch these last videos, share them. The big tech companies, the big tech censors, these authoritarian fascists are doing everything they can to continue to push this content down. And it's really, at this point, for them, I think, an attempt at death by 1,000 cuts. They're trying to destroy any creators, any channels that aren't the fake news narrative that they want to deceive and lie to the American people with. There's a reason why these corporate fascists tell the American people that CNN is trustworthy and that MSNBC is trustworthy, when we know they are lying. They are lying not just to the American people, they are lying to the whole world, and they are actually effectively hurting this country. But you know what? These globalists, these totalitarians, these authoritarians, they don't care. They shove it down your throat and tell you it's the authoritative source and you better like it. And if you like anyone else, they're going to come after those other channels like this one and many others to suppress them, to not suggest them, to put them into the on the border category, even though we violate none of their policies. And then they just move the goalposts and make new policies so that just by having an opinion, they can just come in and say they'll shut you down, because they're shutting down free speech in this country little by little, and they're doing it in a way that is completely un-American, and it's disgusting, and your support is what makes the difference. You know, watching these videos, sharing them. If you don't know what QAnon is, watch this video right here. That should give you all the information you need, plus a whole lot more. So with that in mind, look, I encourage you guys to watch those videos, share them on your social media. And I got to also remind you guys, this video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser. You know, they've taken away all the monetization on this channel. They're trying to put it out of business. They're trying to make it impossible to do this, but you guys can support the channel and get a great product for free. Use the link in the description. Download the Brave browser. What does it do? It actually blocks the ads. It's just like every other internet browser out there. You know, Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, you name it, but it's better. It blocks the ads. It's got a built-in VPN and Tor browser. And did I mention it's free? Use the link in the description. Download the Brave browser, install it on your computer, and run it like you would any other internet browser. And I guarantee you guys are going to like it. It's a better product. So also they make a contribution to this channel, so it's a great way to help support the channel. Now let's just get right into the latest Q drops, I should say. Q post 3722 is where we're picking up President Trump's tweet from back in April of 2019 saying, the Mueller report, despite being written by angry Democrats and Trump haters, and with unlimited money behind it, $35 million, didn't lay a glove on me. I did nothing wrong. If the partisan Dems ever tried to impeach, I would first head to the U.S. Supreme Court. And then it goes on. But this is an important tweet and recognition by all of us out there that President Trump will be able to go to the Supreme Court to argue his case, to say it's completely unconstitutional what they're doing. Because not only did they strip him of all of his, civil rights when they did this whole scam impeachment hoax in the House of Representatives, But now they're trying to play the same games going into the Senate, trying to force the Senate to capitulate to some set of rules for a trial. When we know what this is, this has absolutely nothing to do with President Trump committing any crimes, because we know he didn't commit any crimes. You know what it has to do with? It has to do with them trying to interfere in the SCOTUS's schedule, the Senate's schedule. There's a lot of bills that need to be passed. There's a lot of court cases that need to be heard. And you know what? The Democrats are trying to obstruct those processes from happening. And this is really an amazing thing if you think about it. The Democrats are impeaching President Trump for crimes committed by Joe Biden. Is anybody else watching what's happening here? So let's just get into the next one. The next one here is this National Review article. Now, this is something very important about the impeachment role of the Supreme Court. As Q says here, just to read this article, it gives you a good idea of how the Supreme Court would play a role. And what it would do, as you know, just the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Roberts, would be overseeing any trial that took place in the Senate. But President Trump can go directly to the U.S. Supreme Court to say that this process is tainted, it's biased, and it's unconstitutional. And the Supreme Court can actually effectively knock that down. So I think that's what the next step for President Trump's got to be, because every other example of a example of impeachment over the history of our country is where a president has actually violated a law, right? But there's been no laws violated. The Democrats continuing to pass articles. They passed 2 articles of impeachment, which really have no exact clarification as to what laws were broken. Obstruction of Congress is the most vague thing I've ever heard in my life. It doesn't actually state any real crime. It's just you're obstructing Congress. Well, what if Congress is corrupt and trying to impeach and frame an innocent man? Then what is that? How do we figure that one out? Because you've taken away all of his civil rights. You've basically put him into a position of being like a second-class citizen where he gets no presumption of innocence. It's only a presumption of guilt. And then they're clapping and cheering as if this is a good thing for our country. You have actual people inside of our government, when they pass the impeachment articles, saying, clapping and smiling and all happy and giddy. You know what? If you think this is a good day for our country, you're a sick, twisted individual, and you don't deserve to be in Congress in the first place, because it's disgusting to watch the kind of anti-American sentiment and just complete vile garbage that these representatives put forth on a regular basis in pushing this impeachment hoax against President Trump. First it was Russia, then it's Ukraine, now it's an impeachment for a phone call that we know what was said on, and there was nothing said wrong. As this article goes on to say, it's basically a Rorschach test for the Democrats, because they think in their minds that they see something that just doesn't exist, right? And they just keep saying it enough times that makes it true. Well, that's not how this works, and that's not how our country's judicial system works. Yet it's being weaponized and for political motives, and it's disgusting. So we'll have to see how the impeachment role, or how the Supreme Court plays a role in impeachment. But as Q says here in the next one, which I talked about in the last video we did, it must be done right, legally and lawfully, right? It must be done according to the rule of law. It must carry weight. It must be proven in the court of law. There can be no mistakes. Good things sometimes take time. Attempts to slow block the inevitable justice will fail. Democrats' elections interference 2016, Clinton Hussein illegal FISA. Democrats' election interference 2018, Mueller. Democrats' election interference 2020, impeachment. Projection. These people are sick. We the people are the cure. Q. Now look at that. That statement in and of itself tells you everything you need to know. Democrats 2016, illegally abusing the FISA court to spy on President Trump in order to try to undermine his campaign. Well, that failed. President Trump won. 2018, they stole the House by pushing the whole Mueller Russia hoax, right? And now we're into 2020 where they're trying to do the same thing with impeachment. And these criminals are going to have to be brought to justice legally and lawfully. But it's disgusting. And, they're the ones really pushing division in this country. They're the ones who are poking the bear and expecting nothing to happen. If they keep doing it, I can only say that the American people are eventually going to see through it, stand up, and there may be consequences for every one of these criminal traitors involved. Let's just put it that way. Next one is Q responding to his own post saying, fired first about the FBI, DOJ, State Department, Senate, Congress, CIA, and Department of Defense. So think about that. President Trump has removed all of these deep state swamp creatures little by little from the FBI. We got rid of Comey and the rest. We got rid of everyone out of the DOJ, Bruce Orr and them, Baker. We got everybody out of the Department of State or State Department. We got everybody out of the Senate who's the criminals, No Name and the rest. And in Congress as well. Also, you have the CIA obviously changing leadership from the Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, is a big step in the right direction, right? And the Department of Defense, President Trump's been cleaning house, we just talked about in the last episode. What were there, 5 people who were forced out at the Pentagon? And that's just the tip of the iceberg, the Supreme. And then it talks about how we hired and installed the people in the right places, right? We got the right people on the Supreme Court, two appointments, Kavanaugh and Justice Gorsuch. Then we got the federal judiciary, which, I don't know, was it like 180 plus judges that President Trump has put into the federal judiciary at this point? Then you have the DOJ, where we have, of course, Attorney General Barr basically running that very well. And then, of course, the clowns who have recently gotten Gina Haspel, I think, who has the mandate of cleaning out that organization, which, in my opinion, it wouldn't be a detriment at all to our country as a whole if we just shattered it into 1,000 pieces and let it fly out into the wind, because that's how disgusting and really criminal that organization had become, and it has become over the years. I mean, if you think about it, what they were able to do to not just a sitting president, but then just a regular U.S. citizen before that in the Trump campaign and run-up. So Q says locked and loaded. I believe it. Now, the next one here, I'm going to play these 2 video clips for you. They're, basically just something Q wants us to look at.
He said, I was 7 steps removed from what was going on. The director doesn't get involved in these kinds of things, the actual investigation. Do you believe that?
No. I think that one of the problems with what happened was precisely that they pulled the investigation up to the executive floors, and it was run and bird-dogged by a very small group of very high-level officials. And the idea that this was 7 layers below him is simply not true.
Do you believe that Durham's investigation is broader scoped in terms of the intelligence agencies that are being looked at?
Oh, yes. He's not just looking at the FBI. He's looking at other agencies and also private and departments and also private actors. And so it's a much broader investigation. And also, he's not just looking at the FISA aspect of it. He is looking at all the conduct, both before and after the election.
So there you saw the clips of Attorney General Bill Barr basically in the sit-down interview that Q told us to watch this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, where Attorney General Barr says 2 things. He explains that the scope of Durham's investigation goes well beyond the FBI into not just other intelligence organizations, but then also, it's very important to hear there, private citizens. So what we're hearing in that sense is that everything's in play, right? All the abuse, all the corruption, all the criminality, and every one of the players involved are in play in the Durham investigation. And then also we hear in another clip that basically there is no way that James Comey was removed somehow from this investigation. He was one of the top players, and then it went straight to him and the executive. What is the executive? Well, it could just be the executive leadership of the FBI, or I think it goes a lot deeper to the executive leadership of our country, the Obama administration in its entirety. The Attorney General Lynch, all of the players, right, on the Obama's team, they were in charge, spearheading this operation. They were pushing for it. The text between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page indicate that POTUS wanted to be updated on every aspect of their investigations. So for them to say that, they didn't know anything about it is completely absurd and asinine. And it's just another one of the lies that not only do they push, but then the fake news echo chamber pushes, and that these incredible authoritarian fascists in Silicon Valley think is the right and correct narrative, and that you're morally abhorrent and a disgusting human if you have a differing opinion from that. You're basically on the border line of just being a completely hateful person for what? Wanting to find evidence, wanting to follow logic and objective truth to where the fact patterns lead. Yeah, I apologize for that. Not really. And then that's what Q pointed us to. Then the next one here is an Anon, I guess, put this graphic up where they charted the zero delta tweets where Q posts and then, where President Trump tweets and Q posts at the exact same time, right? And it's always been within a few seconds. I think they've had one exact zero delta, or that was the goal, to get to a zero delta. You know, when we've seen all of these posts, they're just more confirmations of Q, right? Where you have President Trump and Q posting a tweet and a Q post at the exact same time, and sometimes even having related content. So the Anon says mathematically impossible. Then Q says, what about when verifying new trip project decoms, i.e. calling our shot, standard deviation broken, greatest statistical anomaly witnessed, or Q? And what Q's referencing, obviously, is that when they established the new project decoms and they had this reset over on the 8 Coon boards, they had to get a new trip code, but they had to have a way of verifying that the trip code was associated with the actual Q and not just someone else. And obviously, I've talked to a lot of the people that, you know, are near some of those people running the boards and stuff. And let's put it this way. They were able to put together a tweet that had the exact, I think, every letter from the trip code except Q in it, interestingly enough. And it was basically, I think, on a zero delta, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, like Q is saying, it's either the greatest statistical anomaly ever in the history of the world, where you have hundreds or dozens, at least dozens by now, of exact mathematically almost impossible coincidences just happening over and over again. So, you know, I'll leave that for you guys as a proof of Q. The next one here is an Anon saying, thanks for standing watch with us for a little while on this emotional night. We are with you and POTUS. Please pass that on to him. Q says, friend, patriot, hold your head up high. POTUS was not harmed in any way today other than on paper, history books. Sometimes you must sacrifice yourself for the greater good. I will gladly take all those slings and arrows for you. That's a quote from President Trump. But even that can be undone. The enormity of what is coming will shock the world. Pray, Q. I do pray, and I pray for all of us here, you know, the Anons out there. I pray for the Q team. I pray for President Trump. I pray for you guys watching this. I pray for me and my family. I pray every day because I understand that that's what's going to win this battle. And yeah, it's going to be shocking to the world once all the truth comes out about what's been going on here behind the scenes. But fortunately for us, we have God, and that's all that matters. If we keep God in our hearts, we'll be just fine. And yeah, it's been a tough, I'm not going to lie though, watching these criminals get up and lie and try to impeach a duly elected president, a president who I proudly voted for and will vote for again, is disgusting. It makes me sick, and it makes me really worried about the future of this country. But then I realize there's so many good patriots who are working hard every single day to make sure that you know, we're all right and we get through this. So, you know, it's a mixed bag, but we just got to persevere. The next one, Q says, back channels are important. Know your history and you'll know why. Q. So that's obviously referencing, we'll get into this later, the fact that this Q board itself has been acting as a back channel, I think, for others. And it's not just the Anons here watching, it's everyone. You have from the most evil to the most you know, loyal here watching these boards, and literally you know, there can be messages put inside of here that really go to others. So the next one here is this let's see, it's this okay, so I basically, it's this Michelle QAnon dancing to this song that Q liked, because this is when they had a Q&A with Q, and they asked, you know, what's your favorite song, and they picked this song, and then this lady dancing to it, and then this is actually from, as you can tell here, Q+. So, you know, look, whoever Q+ is, everybody says it's Trump, it's this, it's that. either way, thank you, Q Plus, Mr. President. And shout out to QAnon Michelle and great dance, great video like that. Next one here, M2 Madness. I'm going to play this clip from Nancy Pelosi where she gets up in front of a press conference, and it's basically like watching, I don't even know, it's like a mental patient trying to put together their words after they just went through electroshock therapy. That's what Nancy Pelosi sounds like, but I'll let you guys listen.
You run the risk, as some Republicans have said, of looking like you're playing games with impeachment if you hold on to these articles for too long.
I said what I was going to say, Nancy. When we bring the bill, which is, just so you know, there's a bill made in order by the Rules Committee that we can call up at any time in order to send it over to the Senate and to have the provisions in there to pay for the impeachment. And then the next step, the whatever you want to call it, the trial. That is where you put the managers. I was not prepared to put the managers in that bill yet because we don't know the arena that we are in. Frankly, I don't care what the Republicans say. Any other question?
Quite frankly, what you guys just saw there, I don't know what I'm watching either. This is from Methods, the M2 Madness Twitter account, which always giving good insight, good stuff. But bumbling, I don't even understand what she is trying to articulate there. It really does sound like she's having a stroke in real time. And it's disgusting that these are the people who pretend to be, who are like leading our country, basically. She's the third in line to the presidency. That should be really terrifying to anyone who cares about the safety and security of this country, given the fact that she can barely put together a sentence for a press conference, yet she's trying to impeach a duly elected president. And then they're going to try to push to take out Pence too. I mean, it's crazy, right? So, of course, it says puppet following orders. Yep, that's all she is, basically. The next one here, Q gives us this. Donald Trump retweeted incarcerated ET. You guys remember incarcerated ET was featured here on the channel, and you can see the tweet right here. His background of his Twitter profile says, "Where we go one, we go all," right? And it literally says that Trump has not been impeached. The House can impeach. They can only vote for impeachment. Then the Senate trial or Supreme Court trial both have to vote to impeach before he is actually removed from office, which will not happen. But Donald J. Trump just retweeted another QAnon account, so that's just not proof at all. Then he retweets this, another hashtag where we go one, we go all account, because it says here, the truth is always based on facts. Obama knew everything and participated in election interference for decades. Started in Chicago as a community organizer, aka communist. Then this is what we need more of. 100% good job, Rep. Louis Gohmert. If we not fight for this country, we will lose it. Where we go on, we go all. No Nads Nadler needs to shut the heck up. We the people will not stand by in silence, and we will not. I'm going to continue to voice my opposition to this as far and as wide as I can. I encourage you all to do the exact same thing. Q says here, the Anon said, who posted these posts here, said, Anons love these shout-outs from Q Plus and Q. They're amazing. And then Q says, directly after a Q plus or a plus, sometimes after a long day, one needs a little pick-me-up. Q. So we had this post here from Q Plus, obviously President Trump giving us another shout-out here on his own Twitter feed. So yeah, nothing to see here. Of course, here, another story from The Hill. Fifth Pentagon official announces resignation in a week, right? Nothing's happening, though. Nothing's happening. Just nothing to see here. Move along. Then the next one here says, backchannels are important. Know your history and you will know why. Q, this is the Anon requoting Q's post saying, makes me think of this. Some of all fears, there are more good people in the world than there are bad. And then it says, also think white squall regarding Cuban Missile Crisis, JFK. Do comms only go to Anons? Bigger than you can imagine. Expand your thinking, Q. So a few typos here that Q's going to correct. Obviously, white squall is 2 L's and your is supposed to be Y-O-U-R. So that's the next two posts here where Q just says he's correcting those two. But ultimately, this is really important to understand. Think missile crisis. Think what happened in the Cuban Missile Crisis where JFK had a deal basically behind the scenes because neither of them really had a lot of trust for their own militaries as far as avoiding a nuclear war. So they had this back channel set up where they could communicate and say, look, this is what's happening and this is what we have to agree on, because we don't want to put the world into a nuclear war and basically doom all of humanity to a very bleak existence, right? Which would be if we went to a nuclear war, obviously. So think about that. Think about Where We Go One We Go All as having a really significant message in it. The White Squall references having some very unique references that could be used for this back channel communication to stave off some major global events. I mean, think about everything Q's told us about submarines and missiles being launched and rogue submarines and the possibility of these rogue nuclear missiles just floating around in the world that could be used to start a global war at any moment. And how we've been desperately trying to get those, to rein them in, to take any help we can to rid ourselves of that threat, correct? So think about it. That's what I'll say to that. The next one here is Chuck Grassley's Twitter post saying, why is the Democratic House now getting cold feet about moving ahead with impeachment trial? They want to hijack Senate process plus muck up Senate SCOTUS schedule. You need some consideration about SCOTUS since Chief Justice presides in Senate. Are they worried their articles are too weak to move forward? Yeah, their articles are weak. They're meaningless. There is nothing that President Trump did wrong. There is nothing defined clearly as being a crime. The only thing that's a crime is that the Democrats hate the president so much that they've weaponized the impeachment process and turned it into a political weapon, which they're using to try to affect and meddle in the 2020 election. That's the only thing that you need to know about this. And now they're obstructing the process even further by withholding the impeachment articles from the Senate and then making this sort of demand that they need a set of rules before they can forward the articles to the Senate for the trial. No, they are obviously engaged in the most high treason there is, in my opinion. That's the real crime. And there's a lot of proof. There's more proof that they have been committing treason than there is that President Trump ever did anything wrong. Right? But nobody wants to talk about that. So hopefully one day we will have justice, real justice, and not just this kangaroo court charade hoax that they continue to put on our president day in, day out. It's disgusting. And of course, finally here, the Epoch Times article. What is this? Q gives us this article and wants us to understand. It says NSA Director Rogers disclosed FISA abuse days after page warrant was issued. Well, what's this referring to exactly? It's referring to a point at which Admiral Rogers made the realization that the FBI was allowing outside contractors to access the FISA database and query it, right? And then once he put together that they were allowing civilian contractors to query a very, very classified foreign intelligence surveillance court surveillance system, they literally got cut off. Admiral Rogers said no more. He cut off the contractors and then he ordered an investigation as to who was accessing that. And once he made the realization that it was Comey and that it was all his cohorts, Brennan and the rest, who were basically using the system, illegally querying it in order to get dirt on Trump, he said this is unacceptable. And that's when he went and saw President Trump in Trump Tower, as you guys will recall. And what happened? The very next day, President Trump left Trump Tower, never to go back again. He went to Bedford, New Jersey, to his golf course there, set up his new headquarters. And he also tweeted out I think it was right after that Obama had tapped his wires in Trump Tower. So we know Rogers knew. We know Rogers went and told President Trump. We know Rogers was one of the few really great patriots left at that time who was coming forward to try to help President Trump and expose these criminals who had tried to set him up for this takedown. And that's definitely where I think we're going to go ahead and leave it. So a few more things before we go. I want to say thank you guys for watching. Watch these videos, share them on your social media, hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Also leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to say about all of this. And then don't forget to go check out BitChute.com. Come find me over here. You can come subscribe to my channel over here, BitChute.com/JustInformed. You can also come find me over here at JustInformedNews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. Also, I'm on Twitter at JUSTINFORMED. So all that will be linked in the description if you want to find more information on that. There's a couple other ways you can help out the channel financially. Patreon, patreon.com, obviously. You know what they do. They're trying to put this channel out of business. They're trying to make it impossible for me to do this, but with your support, I'm able to continue to do this, even though they've taken away everything as far as monetization goes, basically, and they want to put me out of business. But you guys have kept this channel going, and that's what really I'm thankful for. Also have a GoFundMe set up. I also have a GoFundMe, I should say, if you guys want to help out. You can make a one-time or anonymous donation here, but links to everything will be in the description, and your help truly keeps this channel alive. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And tonight, I want to share these words with you out of the book of Psalms, and it's Psalm 17, believe it or not, and it's verses 6 through 15. And I want to share these words to you because it talks about this being a prayer for protection. And this is my prayer for all of us, especially as we go up against this incredible evil and these incredibly corrupt and criminal people who are trying to destroy this nation and just trying to really enact the will of darkness over the light that we've been given through Christ our Savior. So it says here, I call on you, God, because you will answer me. Listen closely to me, hear what I say. Display the wonders of your faithful love, Savior of all who seek refuge from those who rebel against your right hand. Guard me as the apple of your eye. Hide me in the shadow of your wings from the wicked who treat me violently, my deadly enemies who surround me. They have become hardened, their mouths speak arrogantly. They advance against me, now they surround me. They are determined to throw me to the ground. They are like a lion eager to tear, like a young lion lurking in the bush. In ambush, I should say. Rise up, Lord, confront him, bring him down with your sword. Save me from the wicked with your hand, Lord. Save me from men of the world, whose portion is in life. You fill their bellies with what you have in store. Their sons are satisfied, and they leave their surplus to their children. But I will see your face in righteousness when I awake. I will be satisfied with your presence. Now, I wanted to share those words with you because that's my prayer for all of us. You know, God, just come stand with us against this evil. And we know that God is with us, and we know that we have our eternal salvation through the sacrifice made by Christ on the cross, and we know that we have the Holy Spirit inside of us, and the Holy Spirit gives us this power that's beyond anything I think we could ever really have imagined that we could do on our own. And God can continue to surprise us, I think, in showing us that we can do so much more. And that's my message to you, is to remind yourself every day that we have God protecting us. God is with us, and if God is with us, who can stand against us? So never forget that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And that's my message to you. So take that and put it out into the world. But that's going to be it for me. I want to say thank you for watching. Come here, subscribe if you haven't. Hit it, punch it, tap it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.